Okay, so let's get started. Power on. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is basically press address. Okay, and then you want to go press the down key and interface. It says HPIB. Change that to RS32, and the way you can do that is by moving the knob. Okay, or you can use the keypad again. So either you can use the knob or the keypad. Interface RS32. Press enter. Again, press address again. This time you can see the baud rate. Make sure it's 9600. Okay, so it's 9600. Press enter. Again, go down, parity. Make sure it's none. Okay, if it's space or something else, change it to none. Press enter. Again, address, go down. Make sure flow is none. Okay, again, use the knob. Let's make sure it's none. Okay, and then press again, down, down, down. Language, it's Skippy. You don't have to change this because the software will automatically change it to Skippy, but you know, it doesn't hurt to try. So language is Skippy. If it's COM, change it to Skippy. Press enter again. Address, Skippy. Okay, and that's about it basically. So that's all you need to do, and then turn it off. Okay, so this is what you do for the 6612C and any of the parts of that look like this one. Okay, so turn it on and then press address right here and then go down. Interface HPIB, change that to RS32, press enter. Okay, again address, make sure the baud rate is 9600. Okay, press enter again, and then address, parity none, make sure that's selected, flow none, language Skippy, and yeah, that's about it basically. Okay. Okay, so to actually connect your power supply to your computer, you will need a null modem adapter. So this is what it looks like. Okay, or you can also buy a null modem cable. So this is what it looks like. Make sure it's female to female. Okay, and you will also need a serial cable. So you can buy USB one, or you can actually buy buy one of these if your computer actually has a serial port. Okay, so that's the two things that you're going to need basically. Alright, so once you have successfully connected your power supply to your computer, we can actually get started. So now you can actually open up the software. So there you go, double click. And as you can see, you can't really change anything right now. All the options are actually disabled. So what you do is click config and then select COM port. Okay, and this will actually open up another window. And here you can actually see all the serial cables or whatnot connected to your computer. Okay, so you can click one of them. Okay, double click. Okay, and then you can see it's ready. So no other software is actually using this COM port. And you can then click device info, and you can see that it actually detected our power supplies. Okay, and on the power supply you will see it's COM5. So it's actually displaying our COM port number on the display itself. Okay, and then what you do is basically just connect. If you already know your COM port, okay, you can just directly connect. You don't need to click on device info. And you can also try something, some other COM port too. So if you double click here, okay, so it's ready. But when I click, it's going to give me an error. And this is because this power supply is actually not turned on. Okay, so just double click here and then just connect. Okay, and then you will see that all the options are now enabled and we can basically set anything we like. And the first thing you're going to see is that, it's actually displaying the voltage and the current basically. Okay, let me just, clear the display. So clear the display. Okay, there you go. So now you can see it matches the display. Okay, and currently the output is actually disabled and we are drawing negative current, and this is because the meter has the power supply has not been calibrated properly. Okay, so all right, so let me just so now we can actually click on graphs. So you can actually open up graphs. So there you go, that's one graph. Okay, another one and another one. So you can open up to 3 graphs, so voltage, current, and power. And you can also resize them. You can make them bigger or smaller. Okay, so for this for this video I'm just going to make them smaller so they all fit. Okay, so come Come on. Yep, there you go. Okay, yeah, that should be okay. So in this video, I'm going to be going over all the options. Okay, so you can basically set the under voltage protection. So if you set this this feature, and if the voltage actually goes below this value, the output will be disabled. Okay, and then same thing goes for the undercurrent protection. Okay, and you can also set the over voltage protection as well as over current protection. Okay, and you can also clear the protection status, or you can also send messages to the display. And here we are actually displaying the info. So this info was not available when you actually ran the software, but it's available now. And this is because when you connected the software to your power supply, it actually asks your power supply what the maximum voltage and maximum current is, and or what the model is. Okay, so this information is received from the power supply. It's not actually stored inside the software. Okay, so and then the first thing I'm gonna do is basically go to data logger and then save output to text file. Okay, and then I'm also going to save the status to text file. Okay, so those are the two things I'm going to do. And when you click on the folder where your software is, you can see that it already started collecting data. So you can see the time, you can also see the voltage values as well as the current values, and these values are in volts and amps. Okay, always. And to actually set the voltage, you can actually click here. Okay, and then you can just set whatever voltage you like. So you can set it to 4.2. Okay, and then you can set the current to, I don't know, 300 milliamps. Okay, so you can actually change the units by clicking here. Okay, and then the other way you can actually change the voltage is by using your mouse scroll wheel. So you can scroll up and down. So I'm using the mouse scroll wheel to go up and down, and you can also change the increment that it scrolls up and down by. So currently it's set to 1, so I can actually change it to 0.25, so it will change by 0.25, so it's going to add or decrease by 0.25. Okay, so I'm just going to set it to 4.2. okay, and then milliamps, I'm going to set this set it to 300. Okay, and then press enter. You can actually press enter, or you can actually click your keyboard's enter key. So there you go, I just clicked it. Okay, now it's actually set to 300 milliamps and 4.2 volts. Okay, and currently the output is disabled. Okay, and what I'm going to do is turn the output on. Okay, there you go. So now it's set to constant voltage. You can see that, and currently we're actually charging the lithium-ion battery that's connected to the power supply. All right, so it's showing you the power, so it's showing you the measured current as well as the voltage. Okay, and you can see in the graphs the current is actually going down, and this is because the battery was already fully charged. So and slowly it will actually start to decrease. Okay, and this is the most important menu, the measurements menu. Okay, so it's currently we are actually measuring the voltage and the current. So what this is doing is basically getting these values, the voltage and current values, from the power supply. It's also getting the constant current. So this is a status. So this right here, it's actually getting that from the power supply as well. So if we deselect that option, it's gonna it's not gonna remember what the status is, because we are basically not checking it anymore. Okay, and we can also, it's also getting the protection status. So that basically is the over voltage protection status as well as the over current protection status. So if this actually gets tripped, the software will tell you. But we can also disable that. So there you go. And now this shape, the eclipse shape, actually turned to black, and this is because we're no longer monitoring the protection status. So the software now does not know if the over voltage protection trips or if the over current protection trips. It's not going to know. Okay, so but it's probably best to just keep it on. Okay, keep all these things on. And it's also getting the set voltage and set current values. Okay, so and what this is getting is these values, these two values. Okay, if you disable this, so let me just disable it. So now if you set this to 1.9, right, this value is not being, it's not getting this value from the power supply. This value is just from the software now. Okay, so so all right, keep that in mind. So let me just change. Okay, so what I'm talking about is basically, so let me go to the power supply and set the voltage manually using the front panel. Okay, so there you go. So okay, so I'm changing the, okay, so there you go, 4.2. Okay. Okay, so it's currently set to 4.2. Now the problem is that, you know, I didn't the software didn't actually update that value. So, you know, let me just do it again. So there you go. So okay, so even though the voltage is actually set to 4.2, the software does not know this. Okay, so what you do is basically enable this again and it will actually update. So there you go. See, there you go. Perfect. All right. So, and then the other thing is the set over voltage and over current protection value. So it's actually getting the set these values from the power supply. If you actually disable this, okay, so I just disabled it and try to change the over voltage protection value. So let me just change that right now. Okay, so what you do is go to over voltage value. Okay, so currently it's set to 22, so let me change that to 10. Enter. Okay, so 10. So even though we changed the value to 10, the software actually has no idea that, you know, this was actually changed, right? So we can click this again, and so now it's gonna update. Oh, there you go. See, yeah, it just did that. Okay, so these are the options available. So basically these things are actually getting all the information from your power supply, and you can actually disable these if you want faster sampling rate. So, you know, if you want to sample faster, you can disable all these and change this value to less than 1. Okay, so currently this value is set to 1. What that means is basically the software is updating all the information every 1 second. So it's basically, so every 1 second it's asking the power supply what, you know, what the voltage is, what the set voltage is, what status and whatnot. Okay, so you can actually lower this value if you want to sample faster. Okay, the other thing is, notice how it's actually showing you milliamps and milliwatts. You can actually change that. So if you don't want the software to actually give you, you know, amps and watts and volts in milliamps, you can disable that. So there you go, auto range. So we can just disable that. We can disable it for the current as well. So now it's going to show you what it's showing you. So let me just, you know, clear. Okay, there you go. So yeah, so now it's showing you exactly what, you know, it's showing here basically. Okay, the other thing I want to mention is that, you know, every single power supply that's supported by this software actually has 2 ranges. So the low the low current range and the high current range. So if you're measuring something that's less than 20 milliamps, you should probably click here, click this. Okay, and you can see that it's actually showing you overload. This is because, you know, the current right now is, you know, measuring is less than 20 milliamps. So if I disable the output, you can see that now it's, you know, it's around 8.16 something milliamps. Okay, and this is actually on the power supply side. So this ranges are, you know, inside your power supply. It's not on the software side. Okay, let me just change it back. Okay, there you go. All right, and you know what, I'm just gonna enable the milliamps units auto range stuff. Okay, there you go. And change this back to 4.2. Okay, and turn the output on again. Okay, there you go. So now it started charging again, charging the lithium cell. The other thing you can do is get error. So if there's any error in your power supply, you can actually click get button here and it will actually get the error for you. So there you go. All right, you can also send, as you saw before, you can actually send messages. So, you know, let me message, you know, and it will actually show the message here. Or you can actually turn the display on and off if you like. All right, or you can just press clear, turn the display on, and it will go back to normal. Okay, so now what we are going to do is, you know, set the under voltage protection and the under current protection. I'm going to show you what that does. So for now, let's just set the under current protection. So for now we are around, let me just, you know, zoom this out. Okay, so let's set this value to 0. Okay, 0.06. I think that should be okay. And enable the overcurrent protection marker. Oh no, that's the, oh, okay, okay. No, we need to set the undercurrent, okay. All right, okay, no, okay, so it was already tripped. Okay, let me just set this a bit lower. Okay, turn the output on again. Let me see, let me measure it. Okay, so it's going down 69. Set, let me just enable it again. So now it's enabled. Okay, so when the current actually goes below this point, the output will automatically shut off. Okay, and this is the what is it? What is this supposed to be? Okay, so that's the overcurrent protection marker. Okay, so if you have the overcurrent protection enabled, so currently it's disabled, but it's showing you this. So this is basically the same as your set current, right? So basically it is really. So when the power supply actually goes into constant current mode, it's just going to disable itself. So that's what this is. Okay, and yeah, it's already tripped because the current actually went below, the limit. Right, so that's your overcurrent protection and the undercurrent protection markers. Okay, and the other thing you can do is the undervoltage protection. I'm going to talk about this later on. Okay, now the second thing you can do is, okay, you can reset the runtime. So this is a 24-hour runtime counter. You can also reset the sample values. So let me just reset the volt values. Okay, so it went down to 1. Let me reset the timer. There you go. And you can also change the update speed progress bar. So currently it will become full at 100 samples. So when the software samples, 100 times, the progress bar will be full, basically. Well, you can also change the text color. So green, yellow, whatever you want. You can also change the panel color from black to white. Oh, doesn't look that great. All right, so data logger, I already showed you that. Okay. List. Okay, so list, this is the list basically. Okay, so you can choose to update the list or not. You can clear the list. So let me just clear. There you go. You can also add the measurement volts and current to the list. So there you go. Now it's gonna, it's gonna basically transfer these values to the list. But this is not recommended because it's gonna use a lot of RAM because the list was not designed to just store these values basically. So keep that in mind. Okay, so the about page. So if you want to learn about how to connect this software to your power supply, just read this. Okay, and these are the power supplies that actually are supported, so keep that in mind. Okay, all right, so let me make this a bit smaller. There you go. Okay, so currently it's disabled. Let me just enable it again. Okay, so it's just measuring. Okay, why not? Okay, so there you go. Let's see now. What else can I talk about? Okay, so the update rate. Okay, so you can see that's actually updating every 1 second. Now, if you want to sample as fast as possible, so what you do is disable all these things. So I'm just going to disable them. Okay, so now we're only measuring the voltage and current values. Okay, we're not measuring anything else, and we can now change this to 0. When you set it to 0, what that means is basically the software is going to update as fast as possible. So set. Okay, so now you can see that sample rate is going very, very fast. You can see that. Okay, so we are actually sampling pretty fast actually. Okay, the values are also getting updated pretty fast, and you can also turn the display off if you don't like it. Okay, pretty faster. You can also if you just want to measure one of these things and not the other, so we don't need to measure the voltage, right? It's always going to be 4.2 volts, so we can just disable that as well. And now you can see it's really, really fast. Okay, I actually benchmarked this, and it takes around 9 seconds, around 9 to 10 seconds to actually get 100 samples. So around 10 samples every second basically. Let me just enable that again. Okay, so yeah, okay, and also beep. So the software will actually beep at you if these protections actually trip. Okay, so let me just do that right here. Okay, so currently it's 58. So let me just do 0.5 will it actually go down to 0.56? Okay, we'll see. Okay, going down to 56. It's gonna take some time, but you know, it will actually beep at you because you set the beeper to yes. So when it goes down to 0.56, it will beep at you. Okay, there you go. So you heard that, right? Okay, so you actually beep at you, and once the protection is stripped, it will actually disable these features. Okay, so you will actually have to set this feature again. So you will have to set it. Okay, you can also clear it if you like. Okay, just keep that in mind. So when you cleared it, it actually went down to -1 volts, and the reason why it's -1 default is because sometimes the power supply actually measures negative current. So just because of that. Okay, all right, so let me just turn it on. So right now we are actually charging the lithium ion cell. Okay, and so let's talk about the graphs, right? Let's talk about the graphs. Okay, so you can actually set the over voltage protection marker, just like over current protection markers, the dashed lines. Basically, you can also have the set voltage marker. So if I enable that, you can see that this is where we actually set the voltage at. All right, we can also disable it. Also, the other thing is that you can see that the x-axis is displaying sample numbers. It's not actually displaying time, the date time. All right, if you want to know what the date is, you can actually enable the mouse hover over plot feature. So there you go, and you can just hover over the plot, right? And you will actually see right here, you will see the date. Let me just maximize so you can actually see that. Okay, so there you go. See, so you're actually displaying the date and time as well as the voltage. So yeah, you can also disable the auto axis. So now what you can do is, so let's see, you want to know what if you want to zoom in into this portion. So what you do is use the middle click on your mouse. So middle click on your mouse and just select this portion and then let go of the middle click. So there you go, and now you can actually see that. Okay, and you can also enable the mouse hover feature to actually now go over the plot and see the information, like so currently, so at this point it was in constant voltage mode, and this was the date and time, and this was the voltage value. Okay, so you can see that it went from 4.2 volts to 4.19 volts and then back again. All right, you can also click the middle mouse button, okay, to actually zoom out, okay, and see the entire plot. And the other thing you can do is change the color of the plot. So now it's red. You can also change it to pink. Okay, you can also change the plot background colors. Okay, and you can also change the theme. So currently it's default, which is white, but you can also change it to black theme. So there you go. So that looks pretty cool. And let me just enable that again. So okay, so you can do this for all the graphs, right? So you can so you can do this for all the graphs. Okay, let me just disable the markers. Okay, so if you don't need those, right? So currently it's displaying voltage, current, and power. All right, now the other thing I want to talk about is the samples rate. Basically, the way the graphs works is by using an array. It's a double array, and arrays are actually fixed size, right? So, and that's the reason why it's maximum allowed samples is 50,000 samples. If you set this to say 1 second, then you basically are allowed 50,000 samples, and it's going to take you around 13.8 hours to reach this maximum sample limit. If you set this to 1, if you set this to 0, and if you're only measuring one of these things, so if I'm not measuring current, and I'm not measuring this, then this sample limit will give you around 2 to 3 hours of sample time, like recording time. And when the total samples reaches the maximum samples allowed, the graph is gonna it will stop updating basically. So just keep that in mind. You can also save the image, save the plot image. So there you go, I just saved it. Okay, you can also open plot in another window. So there you go, and this window does not get updated, like it doesn't have the auto axis feature, so you can just move it around. So there you go, you can just highlight this, and just there you go. Again, I'm going to highlight this portion again, and you can see all the sample points, right? You can also pan and zoom, and you can do pretty much anything you like, right? You can also copy image. So what that's going to do is it's going to copy the image into your clipboard. So, and then you can just paste it, wherever you like. You can paste it in your documents and whatnot. Okay. Right. So we pretty much talked about a lot of these things. So this is basically just just data. Like it's just measuring the maximum voltage recorded, minimum voltage recorded. Keep that in mind. Right. So what else can I talk about? Pretty much nothing else. So I'm just gonna enable this again. Right. I'm gonna set it to default. The undercurrent protection is useful when you're actually charging a lithium cell. So when you're charging this cell, it's pretty useful. So you can set it to, let's say, all right, so you can set this to, let's say 10 milliamps, right? So you can set it to 10 milliamps, right? Enable the marker again. Okay, so when the value actually reaches the the limit, the output's going to turn off. So this is good for charging lithium ion cells and whatnot. So this is a pretty cool feature. All right. Now, okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually instead of charging the battery, I'm going to actually drain the battery. Okay, so the way I do this is by setting the voltage to 0. All right. Okay, it just beeped because okay. So right now I'm actually draining the cell. So I'm actually sinking current basically. All right, and that's the reason why it's showing you negative 300 milliamps. I'm probably gonna have to change this because it's not actually displaying the milliamps, the amps units. It's cutting out. All right. So this is pretty much it. So right now I'm actually draining the cell. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention is that you can actually control multiple power supplies by opening up multiple instances of the software. So right now I'm actually controlling 3 power supplies in real time. Okay, so this software is actually controlling this power supply, which is powering this voltage regulator, and this power supply is sinking current from this voltage regulator, and this software is actually controlling the fan. Okay, and what I want to do right now is measure the power efficiency of this regulator. So what we do is basically bring out our calculator and divide this value, which is the power output in watts, by this value, which is the input power. Okay, so we do 1.553, I guess, divide by 2.33. Okay, and then multiply by 100. Okay, so the efficiency of this voltage regulator under this voltage, this set voltage and set current is around 66.65%. Okay, and that's about it really. There's no limit to how many power supplies you can actually control. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You can also open multiple graphs. Okay,